Joining us now, Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell from Michigan, and actually from Detroit and the surrounding area, which you've got a lot of UAW members in your district. Congressman, this is supposed to be a partial strike, sort of a rolling strike. Only some plants will take part starting tonight to give the workers more leverage, lessen the economic impact on them. They would have strike benefits to spare rather than everything shutting down, but it would still be crippling to the industry. So what do you think the latest is? Because we don't hear of any closure at all. They're wide apart.
So, Andrea, it's always good to be with you. And obviously, this is a day that I deeply am concerned about. I have been talking to people all night and all day. They're still at the table. There's a little more than 11 hours left until tonight. I think there's better than a 50-50 chance that there'll be a strike, but up in part of I've seen many negotiations, and I have seen things break in those last 11 hours. But in my lifetime, this is probably the most serious negotiation I've seen, and it's a crossroads for the industry and its future.
I mean, there are a lot of things at stake, electric vehicles and different work rules, different pay, but what about the White House involvement? They managed to prevent a rail strike, which would have crippled the economy, but that had a federal component because of the mix of jurisdictions over railroads. But this is all private, and I don't see publicly, at least, any role that the White House is playing in trying to prevent this or bring the two sides together. What's happening behind the scenes?
Well, first of all, I want to say that the White House should not intervene should there be a strike. It is not an appropriate role for them to play. But one of the reasons we're at a crossroads on this is that we are in a transition from an internal combustion engine to electric vehicles and other technology. And too many people want to make this an either or. We're going to worry about the environment or we're going to worry about workers, and we can't do both. Well, the rubber is hitting the road right now, and this is where we have to do both. And we have to make sure that this transition is protecting the worker at the same time. The worker is who gave in 2008 and 2009 when this industry was in trouble. They gave up their cost of living adjustments. They gave a number of things. Because of what happened in 2008 and 2009, these workers' current salary is almost 10% in real terms because of inflation than what they were being paid now. So we got to figure out how that's going to adjust it. You'll have three people working on the same line doing the same job, but because of the way the jobs have been tiered before you came in, after you came in, you're a temporary worker for 8 to 10 years. That's not fair, and there's resentment, and that's got to be addressed. And another issue that really does have to be addressed is who is going to make these batteries of the future. Are they joint ventures? I want them to be union workers, and I want them good paying jobs. And you've got a plant in Ohio right now, the old Lordstown plant, where they're making $16.50 an hour, and they can make $23 at McDonald's. So that's all at stake. People have got to be at this table. They got to listen to each other, what each other is saying, and we got to make sure we're delivering for the American worker. But in the end, I'm not going to let those vehicles be built in China. They're going to be built here in the United States of America, and we're going to show the world we're leading in innovation and technology.
And there's been so much outsourcing to Mexico and to non-union plants in the South as well, where they make much less money. Let me switch gears for a second and talk about another issue that could really cripple our economy and cost taxpayers a bundle of money, billions. Speaker McCarthy is in a box from his conference on funding the government after the end of September. Now that they've brought up impeachment, which makes it more complicated, he thought that would help win him some votes from the hard right, which we're opposing to keep the government open. They're still going against him. Would Democrats vote on a continuing resolution to help get him out of this bind, even though arguably with the impeachment threat, he's done this to the Democratic incumbent president, and, some political instinct might be let them stew in their own juices. What say you?
So I'm going to say this. We got to see how this all plays out. We got to see what the bill is that we're voting for. But shutting down the government is just simply unacceptable to me. It is not a way to run the government. Mitch McConnell has said that we should have a continuing resolution. So I think impeachment's going to backfire on them. But I will vote for a continuing resolution if it makes sense, because we shouldn't shut the government down.